What's going on, everyone? My name is Realtor Joe Samona, and welcome to this episode of Your Cup of Joe. When people look where to start in their real estate careers or in a company to join and what the company has to offer and how it truly feels working with that company, I don't think you need to look any further than the Real Estate One family of companies. Today, I am very honored to have with me the president of Brokerage Services, Dan Elsea. Dan, thanks for coming on.
Great. Good to see you, Joe.
Great to see you as well. You want to tell everybody about yourself and what got you into the business and what your role is?
Sure. Well, that got me into the business was a heavy dose of nepotism since it was a family business. But so I got in my early 20s and actually through my whole life. Stuart, my brother, and I both have been everything from washing windows to painting buildings. All our life we were in the business. But officially we got into the business in our mid-20s. I sold commercial real estate. Stuart sold residential, and then we just did different things to the organization and managed offices, managed regions, and then eventually my father stepped aside at some point, and the two of us took over. So we've been doing this role of running the company, since probably 2000. So the last 20, 25 years. And since then, the company has always been one of the largest and the largest broker in Michigan since my grandfather's time, because we're now in our fourth generation with my daughter and Stuart's two boys in the business. But back then, when it was Elsea Realty, it was the largest broker in Michigan. And then in 1970, give a little history, 1970, my father merged with three other firms, and the name was too long. It was Elsea, Mather, Stevens, Martins, Durham, et cetera, et cetera. So we changed the name to Real Estate One. So it became Real Estate One in the 70s, and then in the 80s and 90s, we expanded across in different parts of the country, the Carolinas, Missouri, Kansas, Florida, and then was probably spent 10 years looking at trying this expansion across the country, and then decided that was hard work. And we're not a franchise company like a Keller Williams or a Remax or a C21. We're a brokerage company. We run a brokerage. We work with salespeople, developing the success and real estate practices for salespeople, and that's hard to do a long ways away. So we got rid of all the outstate Michigan stuff, focused just on Michigan, and that's when we really grew. That's when we doubled, tripled our size from probably 2000 forward, through bringing on quality brokerages like Max Brook, Reinhardt, et cetera, but also organically bringing a lot of great people into the organization.
Absolutely. Um, you know, how did you all come up with the name The Family of Companies? Where did that come from?
Well, we probably borrowed it from from within the business entity across all types of industries. But the reality is it's a good description because we do have a sort of platform of businesses, a family of businesses that all interact with each other, which is where the family comes in, because each piece, whether it's mortgage, title, brokerage, home insurance, property management, investments, all of those are intertwined, and they're all there for a reason. And each of the pieces came together with not necessarily with a grand plan, but with a specific purpose. Like our insurance company exists because clients would forget to bring their policy to closing. So we had an insurance person that my father knew that would just sit in the conference room next to our closing room, and he would write all kinds of policies for people that forgot to bring their policies. So it was a way to help our clients facilitate a closing, was to have an insurance person there. Yes, writing policies was great, but the main thing was to support our clients. Mortgage the same way. John Adams' mortgage company was originally a bridge loan company to help facilitate clients moving from one house to the other. So again, it was a way we used a mortgage piece to facilitate transactions. In today's world, a lot of brokers have title and mortgage companies, and they look at them more as a revenue stream. We've always looked at it as a facilitation process to help our clients with their sale. And yes, it's a great offset revenue stream for the brokerage business, and that's never been our purpose. Our purpose is to create this family of businesses that help our clients facilitate moving from one home to another or buying the first home.
Now, when you talk about family of companies, a lot of people are going to think, just like what you just said about we have a lot of different companies, and it's to help facilitate the transactions. On top of that, so when you talk about the family of companies, a lot of people will correlate that to what you just said about it helps facilitate the transactions and it helps get the closing done more efficiently and smoother and gets the best result for the client. However, when I look at it and people within the company, is truly because we feel like a family, which is something magnificent that you, your brother, and your entire family have done. How many agents and employees company wide are there, if you know?
There's probably 2,500 realtors within our network. That's company owned in their franchise offices, and another 500 employees. So just about 3,000 total. And we do try to spend a lot of energy making it feel more family. And we're within the real estate world, we're a very big company, one of the top, probably 20 or 30 in the country, probably top, I think we're number 6 independent, non-public company. So within our industry, we have a big footprint. But in reality, in Michigan, we're probably maybe in the top 200 at best businesses. We're a small business, really. And we try to focus on keeping it a small business family feel. I work pretty hard trying to remember the names of all of our salespeople, employees, and spouses, and do a pretty good job of that, as do our children and father before us. So we try to keep it very family and avoid the sort of the corporate feel. Do it a lot of different ways. Do it with a lot of events. I probably write probably 600 or 700 notes a month to different, either for anniversaries, for birthdays, for great month. We just try to touch everyone that we can in the organization as often as we can, just to let them know that they're important to us.
Absolutely. And we'll get to that, but I do want to mention, you know, your father of blessed memory.
Oh, yeah.
He, from what I remember, he was in the business for as long as when you were like flipping through phone books or whatnot to look for listings. Is that the case?
Yeah, and that's an interesting story. So our transition is from grandfather to father to Stuart and I, and then to our children. So that's the 4-generation flow. And what's interesting is that each generation fit a specific time in our industry. And my grandfather getting into the business when he started in 1929, it was an industry where the realtors, there were small brokers, everyone was 4 or 5 people. They didn't share their listings. They didn't want someone else to sell their own listings. It was a very tight, non-sharing environment. And my grandfather didn't like that model. He thought the model of sharing was much better. So he had an office of 70, 80, 100 agents where everyone else was 4 or 5, and he encouraged them to share. Every Friday they shared all of their listings, all of their buyers, and from that he grew that to the biggest broker in the state. My father came along. You're right, they were using books, and they would get delivered boxes of index cards of the other brokers' listings. It was not efficient. So he came up with the idea with another guy, it's still in the market, Tom Irvin. The two of them came up with the idea of creating a computerized MLS. So we think of the MLS now in terms of technology, computer is just, that's the way we do things. But back in the late 60s, it didn't exist. So they created the first computerized MLS in the basement of our Farmington office, and it was called Realtron. It became a national product. So the roots of what we have now in our industry of exchanging information electronically started in our Farmington office. And then from there, we've transitioned from that world to different models now in our industry in terms of how we provide services to our clients, to our realtors. The world has evolved. Each of our generations has worked through a different business model, and we're about to enter a whole new business model for our industry, and that's what our children will step into and manage.
Changes are necessary because, at certain times, the the trend may change, and
Yeah.
certain people may be able to adapt to the changes, more efficiently or quicker. Um, regardless of, regardless of whether it's you or Stuart, your whole family does an amazing job. Like I said, with keeping it like a, feeling like a family. The office that I'm at, the West Bloomfield office, Evan came in there, and it was not easy. He came in there after Tony, God rest his soul, passed,
Yeah.
and Tony Camilleri, for those listening, was a manager that everybody wanted. Like, you wanted Tony no matter what. And so he stepped into an office where it was kind of like unknown territory. Like,
Right.
he didn't know what was going to happen, but he's done an amazing job. And people ask me, how's he doing there? And he is doing an amazing job. And I guess, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. When you're faced with challenges, you're able to address them. And I'm sure that came from Stuart, that came from yourself, and that came from the entire family, from, Camille as well. So that's,
Well, yes, we've when it's a family business, it is a family business. And growing up, we would when we had our family dinners and outings, whether it was for holidays or whatever, we would come together and we'd have the usual conversation of what's going on in our lives, and then it would quickly turn, particularly when my grandfather was there, Stuart and me and our father. It would quickly turn into a business meeting, and of course our spouses would roll their eyes and say, another one of these meetings. And then when the grandkids came along, our children, that changed, and it became more of a family conversation. Of course, now it's reversed because all of those grandchildren are now in the business. So now our family outings turn into back into business meetings, which again our spouses don't love. But that's what you do when you're in a family business, and those you that are listening that have been involved in family businesses, it becomes your lifestyle. It isn't just it becomes every fragment of your lives it's involved with. So and that's what we love. That's where I get energy, and Stuart gets energy, and our kids do. Going into an office, we're having an awards event. There's nothing more exciting than to be there and see the success and the energy that people put into their personal business practices. It's exciting.
absolutely. And it goes to show you, when the family takes over to manage a certain office or certain parts of the company, when a family member does that, it goes to show you that your hard work and your training of that family member has paid off. And it's a proud moment as well.
It is. I agree. Yeah.
Where do you see the market shifting? There's so many constant changes with, interest rates, with the inventory on homes. Where do you see the market going, guys? We start to approach the summer season. Where do you see it going?
Well, I think for consumers, the summer season usually means more homes available for sale. The natural seasonality moves up, and also and more buyers. So the activity naturally rises in March, April, May, June. So that'll happen this year, and I think it'll be more active than last year. Last year was probably the bottom of the market shift. The peak was 2021 and the spring of 22. Then interest rates went up, and then the market shifted. And the way of looking at it is that the market exploded in 21 and 22 to a level well beyond what was normal. So if you remember your high school math and any trend line, the trend line isn't straight. It goes up for a while, and then however time it spends above the long-term trend, you give that back somewhere else. So right now we're sort of giving back that insanity of 2021 22. We're giving that back now, sort of moving towards normal. So the bottom of the market was last year. We're rising off of that. So I see that for the next probably 5 years, it'll be a steady increase. Number of homes sold this year will be more than last. 25 more than 24. It'd be a nice steady recovery, just like it was coming out of the last recession of 8 through 12. That 2012 through 17, very steady increase. We won't see the interest rates that we saw, the 3% rates. We're not going to see that anytime soon. That was a manipulation of interest rates by the government to stimulate the economy. So it was an artificial thing. And what we're seeing now is also artificial, rates being up close to 7. That's the opposite artificial movement for the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. So where the rates will settle, probably in the 6% range. So there's probably an extra half or 3/4 point that'll drop, and probably won't happen until the second half of the year. So that will accelerate real estate activity when that happens as well. And I think over time, even though a lot of people have 3%, 3.5% interest rates, so they're reluctant to move to a 6% rate. But the other side of it is over time, life happens. And even though I don't want to give up my rate, I either have a change in lifestyle, children, divorce, all those death, all the things that cause people to need to move is going to happen regardless of interest rates.
It's going to be a new norm.
Exactly. It's a good way of putting it. We have a new norm now where rates are back. And it's interesting you say that. The new norm now is the old norm, because historically interest rates are at about 6%. That's been the historical 30-year number. So we're getting back to that historical norm.
Absolutely. Real Estate One, the family of companies, and all the affiliates have, from what I see, a very high retention rate of the agents and employees, and even agents who have left in the past and came back home, like myself, because I found out where home was. We end up coming back. How, and so many people have been there for so long. I mean, I've seen 25, 30, 40, 50-year anniversaries.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to? I mean, it's a ton of hard work, but I mean, for the last uh, you know 25 years, you and Stu have been running the company. So what do you attribute all of that to?
That's a good question. And it's kind of hard for Stuart and for me to answer, because we're in the middle of it. So we just do what we do and treat people kindly and have the appropriate worry about how everyone is doing, and are they happy, and are they having the things they need. So those are probably if you do that consistently. But I will say that we've been involved in the top workplaces survey for 10 years now, and that's been confirmation for Stuart and for me, because we don't necessarily know. We think we do a good job, and yes, the fact that our longevity is pretty amazing, and our productivity for our salespeople is pretty amazing, one of the best in the country. So those are the things that we look for. Are we doing the right thing? Are we worrying about our salespeople enough? Are we providing them the right tools? And those are sort of the confirmation. And that top workplaces as well, because that's a survey of all of our salespeople, employees, and it's a common question, basically, how are we doing? And it's a survey that across all companies, isn't just real estate related. It's across all businesses. And we've been, top 2 or 3 in the last 5 years, and top 10 every year we've been in it. So that's a confirmation that we seem to be doing the right thing, because even compared to other businesses, we have strong, even outside of industry, strong longevity, productivity. So those are the proof, and I think the actions is just that we have our core values, and one of them is caring, and I think that's probably the one we lead with.
Absolutely. Dan, before we wrap up here, what do you say to agents or people who want to get into the business, who are motivated, or agents that are looking to make the one of the affiliates of the family of companies their forever home?
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
I think for people getting into the real estate business that haven't been in it as well, it is a amazing, as you know, amazing rewarding business. There are very few uh, vocations out there where you can make as big an impact in someone's lives when it's their housing piece and it's an integral part of how they do things. So it's very rewarding. It's very significant. It's also very hard work. And it takes a lot of energy and a lot of caring and a lot of time to learn the craft. It doesn't happen overnight. So it's something that takes some time. So if you're new in the business, don't expect an instant response, but the long run, it becomes a lifestyle for you because it's not your clients become your friends, and it's a very rewarding world. And on the experienced agent side of things, agents need to take a look at where they would like their business to go. What are the pain points? What are the opportunities they think they're missing? And look for organizations that can fill those. And obviously, I'm a little biased, but I think that our organization does that. We wouldn't have longevity. We wouldn't have the number of realtors joining us from other firms every year, 200 or 300 that join us every year from other firms, if we didn't have something that fit those points, whether it's technology, whether it's, and often it's just an environment in an office. You mentioned West Bloomfield office. That's a caring, nurturing environment where it isn't just Stuart or me encouraging, but it's the entire office encouraging people and worrying about the success of everyone else in the office. And that makes a big difference. This business is hard, and to have peers that help you and motivate you makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I've seen it myself. Happens every day when I see people walking in the hallway, how's business, how's this and how's that. And they're not trying to have an eye out for you. They are trying to look out for you in the positive sense.
Yeah.
Dan, you gave us a lot of information. You continue to teach us every day. So does your family, everyone in there. So for the family of companies, I am who my dad was part of the family of companies for a very long time.
Yes.
And I've actually found some of his really old for sale signs. But for all of your hard work, we do thank you. And I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Good. Thanks, Joe.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Your Cup of Joe. Stay tuned for the next one.